Alright, welcome to another game review. I am gonna mute that, hold on. Jeez. Okay, I am really bad about getting these done, but I just finished this game. It's fresh on my mind. We're gonna do it. Didn't write a script, so this may be a mess. But I wrote a script for my Kingdom Hearts one, and it was a mess. Anyway, so we're gonna do free flying mess. To start it off, I know not everyone likes this game. That's the case with most games. But do not start shit because you don't like the game. I don't want to hear, well, it's trash, or that I'm trash because I like it, or any of that stuff that I've seen in reviews. Okay, I enjoyed the game. It's not a game for everyone. Kojima games aren't for everyone. I don't like Metal Gear Solid, but I like this game. You don't have to attack people just because you got a different opinion. So please, if you want to say why you don't like it, then fine. But don't put other people down. Do not put Kojima down for making the game. Just say your opinion nicely, and we're good. As I pointed out in my Kingdom Hearts video game review, this is my opinion of this game. This is how I feel about it. Doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong. This is just my opinion. So, this is going to be longer than the Kingdom Hearts one, because we're not just going to do the game overall, how it played, how it looked. We're going to go a little bit in depth. I'm going to explain the story a little, at least my perception of the story. Maybe other people see it differently, but this is how I see it. We're going to start with that, and then I'm going to tell you what I don't like, because there's less things that I don't like than I do like. But yeah, even though I love the game, it's not perfect, but that's okay. So we're going to start with, I'm going to explain the plot. From what I've gotten after finishing the game, spoiler warning, big spoiler warning. If you haven't played the game, don't watch this. I'll put this in the description and the title. But yeah, spoiler, in case you've gotten this far in the video. If you haven't played it and you don't want a breakdown of the story, don't watch this, because I'm going to break down the story right now. Okay, you're playing as Sam. Hold on, let me jump to some actual things happening in the game. I forgot, I took a long time to set that one up. Okay. So, playing as Sam. Sam Porter Bridges Strand. Fun name. He is a porter, obviously. He brings packages from here to there. His whole goal that he's assigned, it's not really because he wants to, is to reunite America, which is kind of like broken apart after some voidouts and explosions and BTs terrorizing the world. They want him to rebuild the United Cities of America because they're no longer states. And to do that, he has to travel from point to point to point, reconnecting the chiral system, or chiral. Not sure how. In my head, both are being said, so I'm not sure. I just played this game and I'm already failing. That's the basic plot point of it, is just to reconnect everything. We're going to get more into it as the fact, we're doing spit out order, but Amelie, who is the person you're supposed to rescue, is also Sam's adopted mother, Bridget. Bridget and Amelie are one and the same. Bridget, her physical form, is in the real world, and Amelie, which is Bridget's Ka, which is her soul, is stuck on the beach. And her beach is like the end all beaches. She's like queen bee of beaches. She is an extinction entity. There have been 5 extinction events up to this period in time, one of them being, of course, like the dinosaurs. We all know the dinosaurs, giant comet, bam. Yeah, you get the point. Extinction entity is something that causes a mass extinction, and that somehow, someway, life normally survives. Well, Amelie is one of those. She is the big bad. She is not the big bad in the sense that she's a good big bad, but she's a big bad. I will explain each character a little bit more in depth later on. But big bad, but she seems like a good girl. You want to help her. That's what it seems like. Then you have her controlling Higgs, who is big bad, who seems like big bad, who is great big bad. Love him. He is my favorite character next to Cliff. But Higgs literally just wants to fuck shit up. He doesn't have a good reason. Yeah, he had a crappy childhood, but honestly, it's still not a good reason to want to fuck shit up. But Amelie was like, hey, I can cause a mass extinction. We'll probably need to cause a mass extinction. And Higgs was like, fuck yes, let's cause a mass extinction. This world's fucked, let's fuck it up more. He was all for it. He is basically the big bad you face through the entire game up until his chapter when you defeat him and give him to Fragile, who he fucked the fuck out of Fragile because he used to work with her before Amelie was like, big extinction, come fuck shit up with me. I'll get into more with Fragile and Higgs. I don't think that their personal story really connects to the main story in any way that needs to be done for a summary. So basically, because I'm doing things out of order and I'm the worst ever at explaining things, Sam connects the United States cities of America to get to Amelie, beat Higgs, who gets in the way every 5 seconds, saves her, only to find out that she's going to end the world. And so he has Fragile transport him to Amelie's beach to basically talk her out of it, and then get sent back, and we're all good. I mean, she separates herself from all the other beaches so that she doesn't cause it, even though one day she probably will cause it, but at this moment she's not. Sam gets sent back. And this is where you really gotta play the game to get it all. Throughout the game, you have moments where you fight Cliff. Cliff is a World War II veteran. They play off Cliff like a bad guy. But in my book, he never came off as a bad guy because you get these flashbacks of Cliff when you plug in BB. And this is where Kojima did a great job of making it super misleading and surprising the fuck out of me. Because you think the whole time that BB is Cliff's son. That's the way it plays off, that's what you think. That's not how it is. But you fight Cliff, and then I think you fight him 3 times throughout the game. And he kind of forgives you. At least it seems like he's forgiving you when you get to the final fight with him before everything with Amelie. It seems like he forgives you. And then you get through all the Amelie stuff, and you get to BB being dead and having to take him to the incinerator, and Sam in the incinerator plugs BB in and gets a clearer look at these flashback moments with Cliff and all the time leading up. And then there's just the part right at the end where you find out that the BB is not Cliff's son. Sam is Cliff's son. President Strand, Bridget, shot them both, but she brought Sam back from the dead and raised him as her own son. Cliff saw Sam's BB and just is an instinctive need. It's the same container, and he wanted to rescue him. But as you get through it, especially by the last part, where he realizes the man in front of him, Sam Bridges, is his son. And that's basically, and then Sam unscrews his BB, lets it out, and the baby comes back to life and lives like a baby. That's basically the story plot. You reconnect everything, you stop Amelie from doing her EE bullshit and destroying the world, you fix everyone's problems and connect them together, and you figure out Cliff and the BB situation. The only thing that's not clearly stated, because I felt this game was very clear, everything came out very easily, it's very easy to understand to me. The only thing that was not clear was if the BB that you take care of, Lou, is a random BB that attached to you, or in fact was Sam's son, because Sam lost his wife and child, though they never said what happened to the child. Mom went necrosis and went boom and exploded. So my speculation is that Lou, the BB, is actually Sam's actual son. Which would make the most sense if they've already showed Sam being Cliff's son. It would just make poetic justice for it to be his son. And even if it's not, Sam has basically decided that this kid is his son and is raising this kid. He took off his bracelet. He can't be found. He's living off the grid. That's how the game ends. It's a good ending. I cried. I enjoyed it. That's the summary. Let's get into the first part I'm going to talk about is what I don't like. What I don't like about the game, it's really one thing. I don't like the vehicles. I don't like the bike or the truck. They're helpful, sure, you can transport a lot of items, but they are the most annoying bullshit to drive. It gets stuck on so many fucking things. Every rock, it gets stuck. I have had more anxiety from driving things across the map than anything else. And it's just annoying. If it didn't take so long to walk, I would have walked everywhere. Also, another small thing is I felt the BT boss fights, which I'm not even sure if they were actually classified as boss fights. I feel like we classify them as boss fights. The Higgs boss fight was really the only one that felt like a boss fight. And the big one. But I have to point out, they were really easy. And, I mean, I've played Silent Hill, and the bosses aren't hard. But I felt like I over-prepared for boss fights, which felt a little defeating. Because I'd come with like 25 to 50 pneumatic grenades and used 2 or 3. At the most 5. And yeah, and once I got the gun, then it was even easier. The only one that was cool and felt interesting was Higgs' boss fight, and I think it was meant to. It was meant to feel like an actual boss fight and be all there. That's the only complaints. Everything else was cool, like Cliff's boss fight was great. So now, we're going to talk about this in pieces. I'm going to do character stuff last, so I can go over each one. We're going to talk about the music first. Oh, it's great. Every stream I did is copyrighted as hell because of this music, but it was wonderful. The music is beautiful. It plays on the field when you don't have any, like, some cinematics going on, and that's great. It fills up a time space when you're wandering around, and I love that. It's great. I love BB's theme. It's played at the right moment. They played it in the trailer, and I waited the whole game waiting for that song, and they played it right at the end with the most emotional impact. It was wonderful. Mads singing BB's theme was great. It was wonderful. The music was on point. Every person that helped out with the music, I am thankful for. And I'm sure Kojima is very thankful because all of these songs were really fitting and amazing, and they're not music I've heard before, but I really love them, and I want the soundtrack. I'm going to talk about, now I'm going to go into graphics, because I kind of feel like music and graphics are 2 big points in games that I enjoy. The graphics were beautiful. From the very first part of the game, I had trouble moving on because it was just so beautiful, it looked real. And I've heard it, I've watched Jacksepticeye play it, and he said the same thing. He's like, this can't be in a game. It looks too real. It is the game. This whole game looks like an actual place, even though my streams kind of have the worst quality. But it's beautiful. It is a beautiful game. Everything is well done. The people, motion capture can be done well, or it can be done terribly. It was done perfection-wise. It was the best motion capture I've seen. Applauds to the actors because it felt real. The emotion felt there. The last game I played with motion capture, which was Man of Medan, felt very lackluster. The emotion was bullshit. It wasn't there. It felt devastating to the motion capture department. And I'm very happy that Hideo got such good actors like Norman, Mads, Troy Baker. All of them did beautiful. Like, they felt like people, and they are people. There are people behind these characters that get them out there and bring them to life. And it was good. They had good writing, and they had good actors to act it all out. It was fantastic. The BTs were done in such a way that the first time they were introduced, I cringed. Not in like a bad way, but like a, please don't get near me because you're creeping me out. I mean, they lost the fear factor, but I don't think this wasn't meant to be a horror game, so I don't think the fear factor was meant to be there. I just felt it at first, which is unique because even horror games don't creep me out, so Hideo gets points for this. Also, let's just gonna talk about the character models and the way they acted. You just come up to Troy Baker and be like, just lick everybody. It was creepy, it was cringy, and I loved it. It was great. All the acting was great. The gameplay outside the vehicles, also great. I have no complaints. It was an interesting... Hideo took a bunch of ideas and he shoved them into one game. And surprisingly, it worked. He took a multiplayer feature, which I hate multiplayer games. Anyone who watches my channel knows I hate multiplayer. I don't like playing with other people. It's not fun for me. I enjoyed the multiplayer feature. I'd come back after a couple hours, and there'd be bridges and walkways, and it made the game just... it felt lived in. You get likes from people, like, it was interacting, there's little signs. And it was so positive. People telling you which way to go so you don't get lost. Not go this way because it's an edge of a cliff. A lot of people said it was censorship because he made it where you can only put good things in the game. But I don't feel like it is. Like, isn't there enough negativity going on? Like, it would have ruined the game if people could leave shit comments like they're doing Dark Souls. So I felt this was perfect. It was good, it was friendly, it felt good to be in a multiplayer kind of thing. It made it easier to build structures. I could start something and someone else would finish it. Like, that's wonderful. I didn't even need to bring ladders and stuff by the end of the game because people had already done it for me and made it so easy. The controls? The menu is so tiny. I think that's another complaint that I should have mentioned. It's so tiny. It's hard to see. I have to sit right in front of my TV, and that's not a Hideo thing. That is just everyone. Everyone does that, and I hate it. Oh, speaking of the kind of interface he's done, he also made it to where it's not a killing action shoot 'em game. Like, yeah, you get rid of BTs, you get rid of them with blood, which is cool, and if you kill humans, it'll cause a void out and blow the fuck up. So they made it where there's a reason to not use deadly force, which is cool. Unique features. Have to say, overall, I don't know what else to talk about in particular with just the world, other than it's beautiful. It plays well, the controls fit in. Like, I know some people were like, it's so boring, it's just a package delivering simulator. And it is. It's a package delivering simulator. And you know what? I've not had one moment where I was bored. Not one. I've played this entire game for almost 40 hours, and I'm still playing it, and I'm not bored. So, I think it's just a game. It appeals to some people and doesn't to others. I have to say, though, I have tried watching people play it, and it's not the same. It is such a boring experience to watch. But to play, it is a lot of fun, and there's a difference. Oh, I'm going to bring up the BB mechanic. and the balancing mechanic. The package stuff is cool. It makes it a little like you have to pay attention when you're getting to point A to B. But I think that's cool, and there's a point when I stopped picking up extra stuff because I wanted to experience the story, and I'll come back and do all that later. It's still gonna be there, and that's good. BB's mechanic. Never once did I feel that was in the way. I felt like there were times when I couldn't just stop to comfort him because, like, there's a bad guy chasing us or a BT and you can't just stop. But it never felt like a bad mechanic. In fact, I actually really enjoyed it. And there are multiple times where you just hear the baby going off in the controller, and my first instinct was automatically coo or soothe it or make comforting noises. But I'm also a mom. So I still do that even in the store when a stranger's baby is crying. My instinct is to look around and comfort it. So this was a whole game relying on my motherly instinct, and it was wonderful. I got attached to a baby in a video game. I've never had that happen because normally babies in video games are super fucking annoying. But this one was so fucking cute. He dances when he's happy. He blows heart bubbles. His little hand thing, your scanner that he's connected to, when you're done with a BT, it will wave, it'll tap you on the shoulder and give you a thumbs up. It's adorable. This game has such addicting mechanics. I think that's the biggest thing, is these mechanics are just so addicting. And they all are from like a bunch, they're not from one genre and fitting into one, they're a bunch of different genres. The boss fights are more of a shoot 'em up kind of thing, compared to the walking around and exploring and delivering stuff and taking care of the baby. But at the same time, they're like kind of on the edge of horror, because they're like you're using blood to fight creatures from the death realm, which also I think is fantastic. We'll talk about that in a second, but and then you get to Higgs's boss fight, and you don't get a weapon at all except the strand, which is a lot of just running after him, grabbing him, and kicking the fuck out of him like he deserved. It was great, and then there's a part in it where you're beating the crap out of each other and you've got like fighting game health bars on the top of the screen, and you'll finish the fight with a headbutt, and it's great. I love that. It was so unique and different. And then you've got Cliff's, which Cliff's boss fights felt like a Metal Gear Solid run. And even though I'm not into that, and it wasn't hard to get through and still appreciate that it's a whole different mechanic that melds in with all his other mechanics. He's created a whole new genre of game, which includes every genre of game. It includes shooting, it includes stealth, it includes horror, it includes exploration and open world, it includes simulator things, package delivering. It's a whole bunch of things in one. And he wraps it all up with this amazing storytelling, which we're going to get into is the story. I know I already covered it, so we're not going to get deep into it. It's just amazing. And I know people also complained about that they don't like a whole bunch of cinematics. And that doesn't bother me. I'm a Square Enix girl. Final Fantasy games, hours of cinematics. The cinematics felt short in this game in comparison. But while they were short, they were meaningful. Like, there were scenes that I've got emotionally involved in, especially the ending. I'm sobbing my fucking eyes out. I had to turn the mic off. But yeah, it's just the story is amazingly told. The graphics and the music and the acting and the mechanics all work to make this a great game. And not everyone's going to think that. Like I said, this is my opinion. I think this is a wonderful game. I think this is the best game of 2019. It's got the best of everything in ways that I wasn't expecting. Like the Higgs boss fight was the best boss fight I've ever had and experienced in a game. And I would play this game over and over and over. I still have it up just to get all of the achievements, because this game is amazing. But since we covered the basics, yes, baby. What is it? Okay. Cover the basics. I'm gonna cover the characters and how I feel about them and what I think was done right. Or wrong, you know, I'm not gonna like everything in the game, but I like most of it. I'm gonna start with Sam. Sam was the middle ground, tie everyone together character, and it was done perfectly. I played this game because it was Norman Reedus, and it did not disappoint with the amount of Norman Reedus. And I think he delivered on everything, more and more towards the end as his character opened up. The end scenes were really nailed at home for Sam, and it was amazing. And I related a lot to Sam. He has a phobia, and I don't even consider it a phobia because he gets touched and his skin turns bright red. That's more of like a, you know, disorder than a phobia, but it goes away. It's part of his life and death repatriate thing. He's a repatriate because of Bridget. So he can die and die and die and die and just keep coming back. Which I only experienced a couple times. But it's just the glue and the knot that ties everything together, which is the point. But I related so much because of the touch thing, because I don't like being touched by strangers. And everyone kept trying to fucking touch him. Like, my god, it annoyed me. I felt for him. I'm like, stop touching him. You know he doesn't like touch. Quit it. And then by the end of the game, he's hugging them, in which I have friends that I built up to that point. Like, I like touching when it's people I know, so it's kind of one of those things where I related. It's also Norman Reedus. Like, can't go wrong. And then there are just the other characters. Talk about the side ones, like Mama and her sister Lockney. I call her Locke, but they've said it in weird, different ways. Their story is great. I cried. Like, twins, I love Get Twins. I love the concept of twins. I think everything that does with twins is great, and Hideo locked that into the park. He took that twin concept of being tied together and akin to one soul and just went for it. Unashamedly went for it. And it worked. She's a great character. She wanted to have a baby for her sister. Ended up, like, baby dying and still kept onto it because she felt basically like she'd failed. And then she hid from her sister because of it. But then she uncuts herself from the baby, cuts the umbilical cord, and then passes away as soon as she gets reunited with her sister. And then they become one person again. It's a one. I loved it. It was great. Hartman's too. He lost his family. He has a disfigured heart that makes it look like an actual heart, like the cartoon heart. And I related to him because my mom had a backwards heart. So seeing a character that was similar to my mom, it was just amazing character. The fact that he kept killing himself, though, bringing himself back just to find his family, a little bit overboard, but he's a good character, and he's kind of cute. He's a cutie. And now I'm going to talk about the ones that tie in. We're not going to talk about any of, like, the side bunker characters, because even though they're cute and funny, I don't feel like they play as much of an impact on the story. And I'm going to talk about bad guys last. We're going to move on to Dead Man. Dead Man I liked because I knew that there was something off about him from the start, because he has a scar over his head, and that's something that you see in dead bodies. And immediately I was like, what, did he die and come back? And they explain it later that he's just a bunch of dead body parts. He's a Frankenstein monster, which is also great because now Hideo's included a story that, like, everyone knows. Everyone knows Frankenstein's monster. Everyone. And it's also Toro. Like, wonderful. His influence is very clearly seen in this game. And personally, he just seems to care so much and just really care about Sam more than the other characters. I feel like, because he's never had I guess he really just really wants a bond with someone, and he finds it with Sam, and he's really on Sam's side. That's important. And then there's Fragile and Higgs. Fragile's a cutie. I'm fragile, but I'm not that fragile. Like, she's just a sweet, innocent girl who got in a really bad situation because Higgs is a fucking dick. And she gets her revenge in her own little way. And I don't really have a lot to say about Fragile. I liked her. Her and Sam would be cute. Her and anyone would be cute. I feel like she just needs someone who's like, don't care that you got hit by the time fall. I love you. Higgs, though. I adore Higgs. And I know that he's not this big, in-depth character like most of them are. I mean, he's got it. He's basically simply his in-depth thing is bad childhood. Watching his father die and explode. Well, his father, his second father, adopted father. His uncle, actually. But you know what? I'm not really into bad guys with reasonings. And I'll get into why. But I like a bad guy that's just fucking crazy. He just wants to fuck up the world and watch it end. I'm into that. I like Stefano, and Stefano has no depth at all, if you know who I'm talking about from The Evil Within. Stefano just wants to kill people and make artwork out of their dead bodies. There's no depth to that character, but he's great because he's just psycho and crazy. And Higgs is that way. And I've seen a lot of people like Higgs, but I've also heard that they think he's boring because he's just so stereotypical bad guy. That's the point. He's the stereotypical bad guy, and you think that he's gonna be the final bad guy, and he's not. And it plays off beautifully. And he's just so crazy, going around licking people. It's disgusting. And I hate it. But I also love it. I love it. Troy Baker did a wonderful job. Southern drawl, licking people, being out there crazy. If you go to his bunker, you get some more of the journals, and you can see just it wasn't even that he had a tragic past that much. I don't feel that his tragic past influenced him to be a bad guy. Which I'm fine with. You just want to be psycho crazy? Be psycho crazy. Not in real life, please don't. But in a video game, I don't want to analyze or feel bad for the bad guy. I don't want them to use their past as an excuse for being a shithead. I just want them to be a shithead. And Higgs is a shithead. And I love him for that. Higgs and Fragile have this complicated past where he used to be on her side, he used to want to help her, and then he got influenced to fuck up the world by Amelie and just fucked Fragile over. That's 99% what he did. He's just there to cause chaos. He's there to make sure the world ends, and there's no order to what he does, and he's just chaos in a pure element. Like, he's a human being embodying chaos, and I love it. The last two characters, well, three characters, we're going to talk about Deck Hardman and Cliff together because they're also entwined. Deck Hardman, or John, is basically Cliff's friend. They were war buddies, and Cliff always saved his life. And he tried to do the same thing and help Cliff, but he ended up not being able to. And I know that he regrets it, and he kind of put a mask on to hide behind it. You see in the end that he regrets it, that he felt like he deserved Cliff killing him, even though Cliff spared him because Cliff knew the truth. Cliff knew that it wasn't John's idea. John didn't want to hurt his friend. And John didn't even technically pull the trigger. And now Cliff is the character in all the trailers that you thought was a big bad guy. And the minute he got introduced in the game, I knew otherwise. I knew he wasn't a bad guy. He's a protective dad who just wanted to keep his son safe and have his son. He wanted to be a father. He's a military man. But he's also a pretty great dad in my book. He did his best. Like, his son was born early. And they don't explain why. They do kind of say that his wife's on life support so that she doesn't cause a void out. But I feel like that she's basically a still mother. She's the first still mother. And his son was supposed to be the first BB, his son being Sam. Which you find out at the very end. But Die Hardman told him about their plans to take BB away, Sam away, and use him for the chiral network. And he told Cliff to get his son out. And Cliff tried to do that. That's all he wanted to do, was be a father, make sure his son saw the world. And I adore him. He's like my favorite character, for sure, because he's just a great guy. He's not a bad guy. He's not a hero. He's a dad. He's a dad who didn't get a chance to be a dad. And I think his story and Sam's story, that story of Cliff being Sam's father and everything that happened, that's what the game was truly about. But it wasn't something that was alluded to until the very end. And it wasn't set clear until the end, and I'm actually okay with that. I like that. The last character is Amelie, or Bridget, same person. I hate Amelie. I've hated her since the beginning of the game. I didn't like Bridget either. Finding out they're the same person does not fucking surprise me. I don't like either of them. Amelie's that bad guy who uses her life events to justify or make you pity the choices she made. She talks about how she's had nightmares of the extinction event, so she made sure all the world had nightmares about it so she could share it with people. And she talked about trying to bring everyone together and everything she did. But at the same time, she made really bad choices. And she talked about how she got bored waiting for things to get better, so she decided to go ahead and hurry up the extinction event. Like, you have this great big power to cause the end of the world. And you get bored. So you decide, fuck it, let's end the world, and then you change your mind because of Sam? She did all these things, including taking Cliff's son, killing Cliff, and killing Sam, only to bring him back as a repatriate. And she treated it like she needed to be pitied because, oh, I'm an extinction event. Oh no, I see the end of the world. And I made these bad choices because of it, but oh, pity me. And nothing's wrong, I'm fine. I don't know, she just felt like she was the pity queen of the game. And I don't know. I didn't like her. I don't like bad guys with reasonings that make their actions seem okay when they're really the opposite of okay. Yeah, you needed Sam to exist to stop you from destroying the world. I get that. I mean, that's always how the game is going to play out. But it doesn't make your actions any better. And even though she's separate from the world now and no one has to deal with her, they still treated her in a way that she didn't deserve. She didn't deserve any respect. Like, she should have told people ages ago that she was the extinction event, that she was really Bridget. She shouldn't have lied. She shouldn't have taken Cliff's son. She shouldn't have killed Cliff. And she shouldn't have used Sam. But she is the final boss. She's the final bad guy. And to me, it was very clear that she was a bad guy. There's just something off-putting about her. But yeah, not a big fan of her. I love every other character, but not a big fan of her in general. So yeah, overall, if I had to put a rating on the game, 9 out of 10 because those fucking trucks piss me off, and I don't like them. But that's the only really big negative thing. Everything else was great. The game was great. Once you got into the game, it was easy to understand. I didn't have a moment of boredom whatsoever. It was that good. So, That's my thoughts on it. If you have thoughts that you want to express, whether you agree or disagree, you can put them in the comments. Just remember to be respectful. You don't have to like something I like, but you have to remember that everyone has different opinions. So we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you for watching. Bye.